There are 3 bridges going into Charing Cross. In the middle, the Hungerford Railway Bridge, designed by Victorian engineers at Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Either side of it, the Golden Jubilee footbridges. They are the newest bridges across the River Thames. They were completed in 2002, time for the Queen's Golden Jubilee. When they were built, they were a bit worried about coming across any unexploded World War II bombs on the riverbed. So they were very cautious, left the foundations out by hand, using miners who could hold their breath for a very long time. The area on our right is the South Bank Centre, has its origins in the 1951 Festival of Britain, supposed to be a celebration after the Second World War and the austerity that followed. The last remaining building of the 1951 festival itself is the building immediately after the bridge on the right, the Green Roofy Royal Festival Hall. Grade 1 listed example of Art Deco architecture. These days it's home to the London Philharmonic Orchestra. These seats in the Royal Festival Hall are designed in a unique way, so that whether they are occupied and someone sitting in them, or whether they are empty and picked up, the acoustics in the hall remain exactly the same, making it perfect for both rehearsals and performances. The South Bank Centre is nowadays also made up of the Haywood Gallery, the Purcell Room and the Queen Elizabeth Hall. Conveniently for me, they put the names of these buildings up in giant letters on the side, makes my job a lot easier. Very nice areas to go for a walk around in if you're looking for somewhere to go for a walk when you get off of the boat. Lots of street performers, street food and entertainment to be found there. The next bridge coming along ahead of us, that is Waterloo Bridge, the second Waterloo Bridge. The original was completed in 1817, supposed to be named Strand Bridge, but it was renamed Waterloo to commemorate the enemy's battle. It wasn't very successful to try and make the money back that they spent on the bridge. And everyone responds that by saying, okay, we'll go along to the next bridge and cross the river for free. Yes, they did, but this Waterloo Bridge has been far more successful. It was completed in 1942, and as most men were already fighting during the Second World War, construction was completed by a mainly female workforce, thus earning it the nickname of the Ladies' Bridge. It's probably no coincidence then, it's the only bridge across the River Thames that was completed on time and under budget. Made out of very clever material, it's a bridge called Portland Stone. The reason why it's very clever is it's self-sealing. Every time it rains, the bridge gives itself a wash. Believe me, it rains a lot here in London. It's a very, very clean bridge. According to Prince Charles, he was not a fan of the brutalist architecture of the National Theatre. If you are a fan of theatre, not a fan of expensive theatre tickets, then the National is the place for you. Tickets there, including ones for front row seats, can start from as little as £15. A lot of the productions there show such a more security instead of the job at night time. And then getting West End to Broadway transfers, so you know we'll be seeing the next big West End hit there. I don't think you can see any building with the word OXO on the side of it, so I'm afraid I would have to tell you, technically, you would be wrong. Yes, that black and white building on the right did used to belong to the OXO Stop Meat Cube Company, but when they built it out in the 1920s, advertising on the River Thames was banned. The River Thames is a royal highway. Advertising on a royal highway is illegal. You cannot subject the King or the Queen to advertising, as they will spontaneously combust. So when they built that tower in the 1920s, they were taken to court. They hired a very smart lawyer who came up against a very stupid judge, and the lawyer argued that tower doesn't say OXO, those are just shapes. A circle, a cross and another circle. It is a complete coincidence that at night they are lit up in the company colour of red. Like I say, very smart lawyer, very stupid judge, and managed to get away with it. The white boat on our left with the yellow funnel, that is the Wellington, dates back from the Second World War. Disguised as an unarmed merchant ship, it would go out to lure enemy U-boats to the surface. The U-boats, they wouldn't want to waste their torpedoes on an unarmed merchant ship. They'd come to the top of the water, use their guns instead, at which point the sides of the Wellington could drop down, revealing cannons that could blow them away. A very successful career. It's been moored up here in the Thames since 1948. Behind the Wellington, you'll see an archway. Next to that archway, you will see 2 silver dragons. And once we pass those silver dragons, that means we have crossed the border into the City of London. I know, you probably thought we were in the City of London the whole time. You haven't. You've been in the City of Westminster. The City of London is the area in the distance with the funny-shaped skyscrapers. It is the oldest part of London. It's where the Romans settled in the middle of the 1st century. Originally entirely surrounded by a wall, when the population grew, it spilled over that wall into the neighbouring City of Westminster. City of London, area for commerce. City of Westminster, the area for royalty. It was decided the two should not be mixed, when modern London is made up of a combination of the two, Greater London made up of the 32 surrounding boroughs. City of London has its own police force, its own taxi service, even has its own Lord Mayor who once a year invites the Queen to step over into the city as she needs special permission to do so. The reason why the skyscrapers in the City of London are such funny shapes is because this building on our left, Sinkhole Cathedral, by law is with 13 certain points. So anytime a skyscraper is built that is taller and may obstruct the view, they're built at an angle or in a funny shape so the panoramic corridors can remain upkept. The cathedral can remain visible from those 13 points. One of those funny shaped skyscrapers on our right. This building with a bump in the side there is number 1 Blackfriars, London's newest skyscraper. We haven't got an official nickname for 1 Blackfriars yet, but there are some suggestions such as the Mars, the Baby Bump, the Cocktail Shaker, the Boomerang and the Kim Kardashian. I'm sure she's flattered. We are now coming up to 2.5 Blackfriars bridges. How can you have 2.5 bridges? We'll see why in a moment. First of all, we have the Blackfriars Road Bridge. Have a look at the columns on this bridge. You'll see there are some birds sculpted into them. The birds on this side are freshwater birds. The birds on the columns on the other side are saltwater birds. And that's because this is where the Victorians believed the freshwater and the saltwater of the River Thames met. They got their calculations slightly wrong. It's a bit further up the river behind us near Richmond. It does make some very decorative bridge columns anyway. But in between the two full Blackfriars bridges, on your left, on your right, you'll see some mysterious red columns. They belong to the London, Chatham and Dover Railway Bridge. As steam trains became heavier and then replaced by diesel trains, the old bridge just couldn't support the weight. They tried to demolish it and get rid of those columns. They were too well built into the riverbed. Dynamite would cause too much damage to the bridges on either side. So instead they painted the reds, gave them the grade 2 listing and just hoped no one would notice, which is why we point them out on every cruise every day and encourage you to take lots of photographs of them. Sinkhole Cathedral once again on our left. This is the 5th St Paul's. The one before it was destroyed in the Great Fire of London. This one was completed in 1711. Designed by architect Sir Christopher Wren, he made it 365 feet tall. As he said, religion was for every day of the year, not just Sundays. It was already controversial enough being a domed cathedral, usually associated with the Catholic Church, in what was, at the time, a very Protestant England. But it was almost even more controversial, because originally Sir Christopher Wren wanted to put a giant golden pineapple on top of it. In 1711 in England, pineapples were a sign of wealth, and not just giant golden ones, the actual fruit itself. They were so rare and exotic, people would pay thousands for them, sometimes not even to eat, just to use as home decoration. But Christopher Wren was told he couldn't do that, so he compromised. He put a cross on top of the dome, pineapples on top of the 2 adjacent towers on the left. On our right, the white round building, you can see, as you can tell, very old building, built a very long time ago, in 1997. That was Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, the 3rd Globe Theatre, a replica of the 1599 original. The original didn't last very long, and actor in a production of Henry VIII decided it was a good idea to fire a live cannon in a wooden building with a thatched roof. Now I think you can work out how that is.